Let's face it, the easiest way to clean up intersecting geometry is by creating a sharp corner. Unfortunately, sharp corners aren't always the best solution for a design. In this lesson, we are going to explore the fillet command. Fillet allows us to create rounded corners. On my screen I have some abstract geometry. We're going to use these lines to explore the workflow behind fillet. Now, fillet is a modification tool, so we can find it right here in the Modify panel of the ribbon. After launching the command, AutoCAD essentially just wants us to click the two objects. I'm going to select my first object and the second one, and AutoCAD creates the rounded corner. I know what you're thinking, that corner doesn't look very round. That's because we neglect to do one thing. We didn't set a radius for the fillet. You see, the default radius is 0. So in that respect, fillet can also be used to create sharp corners. I'm going to launch the fillet command again. This time I'll come down to the command line and I'll choose radius. And let's create a fillet with a radius of 8 inches. This is an architectural example. I will then select my first object and my second one to create the rounded corner. We'll make one more. I'll click to relaunch fillet. I will then select my first object. I'll then hover over the second object and you can see that AutoCAD gives us a preview of the current radius size. After looking at this, maybe I'd like the radius to be a little larger. I'll simply come down to the command line and choose radius, and I'm going to type 15 inches this time. I'll then hover. That looks perfect. I'll then click the line to finish the fillet. Now that we understand the basics of how the fillet command works, let's try and use it in a practical example. I'm going to zoom out. I'll pan the drawing over. On my screen I have some geometry that represents floor plan for a hotel room. I'm going to start by zooming in on this desk area. Take a look at this corner. This is awfully sharp. I'd like to use the fillet command to round off this corner. I'll launch fillet. I'll come down and choose radius, and I would like to use a 6 inches radius on this corner. I'll click my first line and then I'll hover over the second one. That looks perfect. I'll click to finish the fillet. Let's pan the drawing over. We'll focus our attention on this lounge. Let's say that I would like to fillet these 4 corners each with a 4-inch radius. I'll launch fillet. I'll come down and I'll set my radius to 4 inches. I'll then click the first line and the second one. Notice that fillet assumes that you will only ever want to do one. We've been dropped from the command. I'm going to come back up and launch fillet. Take a look at the command line. Notice there's an option here called multiple. I'm going to select multiple, and now when I click my first line and my second one, fillet will use the current radius and it will keep me in the command. So I can then click this line and this line and this one, and I will remain in the command until such time as I press the escape key. I'm going to pan the drawing up, and let's take a closer look at this chair. This geometry was created using the rectangle command, so essentially it's a polyline. I'm going to launch the fillet command again, and then I'll come down to the command line and choose polyline. Using this option, AutoCAD will apply the current radius to all corners of this object. We'll do one final thing. I'm going to pan this up and we'll look at the desk again. This area is awfully narrow. In fact, if I select this line on the end and come over to the Properties palette, mine is anchored to the interface. If yours is not, you can always hit Ctrl+1 to bring up this palette. I can see this line is approximately 13 inches long. I'll press escape when I'm finished. Let's say that I would like this area of the desk to be 19 inches deep. To do that, I'll launch the offset command. I'll enter 19 inches for my distance. I'll select this back edge and I'll offset it forward. When I'm finished, I will press escape. I'll then select my previous edge. It's no longer necessary, and I'll press delete. Now, let's use the fillet command to clean up these intersections. I'll launch fillet, I'll select my first line, and then when I hover over the second one, notice fillet is wanting to put an arc in there. Maybe I'd like this to be a sharp corner. Notice at the command line it says select second object or shift select to apply corner. If I hold my shift key when I click the second line, the fillet command will create a sharp corner. I'll launch fillet one more time and then I'll create another sharp corner from these intersecting objects. When I'm finished, I'll back up and we'll center the geometry on screen. So the next time you're working with intersecting line work, try using the fillet command. Its ability to create rounded or sharp corners makes it one of the most valuable tools for editing a drawing.